very serious question. Did you know that the measles is back? Did you know that? Because, like, I was under the impression that once upon a time, we had eradicated those little fuckers. I thought that we were done with that disease for the most part. And yet, today's article has me just not super thrilled about how the future is going to look where this particular disease is concerned. You're right, measles is back with a vengeance. So, before the epidemic, or the pandemic, helped fuel the growth of vaccine politicization across the country, less than 1% of Austin School District's kindergartners in the fall of 2019 failed to comply with the state's vaccine reporting requirements. Okay, fair enough. 5 years later, the Austin Independent School District had some of the state's highest numbers of kindergartners who neglected those state requirements. About 1 in 5 kindergartners had not proven that they were fully vaccinated against the measles and did not file for an exemption. My God, 20% of your kids are just okay with the measles. All right. A Texas Tribune analysis has found that this explosion of vaccine non-compliance has played out across many school districts in states in recent years. This helped to push Texas's measles vaccine coverage to the lowest it's been since at least 2011. There's a quote here saying, "We definitely were in a better trajectory before the pandemic," said Alana Bajarno, Executive Director of Health Services and Nursing for the Austin School District, which reported a 23% delinquency rate for the measles vaccines amongst their kindergartners. Now, I just have to know, why would you not want to get the measles vaccine? Like, why would that be a thing that you want? Why is that something that you want your kids to actually have? Okay? Little Firecast says measles is still an epidemic in more than a few developing countries, which is why it's on the vaccine registry for many developed countries. Woo! Trey says, I keep forgetting, but for anyone else, did you see the hackers access 70,000 users' government IDs? Not surprised. Not surprised. So, when you get the measles, you get a fever, you get a cough, you get a runny nose, you get red, watery eyes, your throat starts to get sore, and you start getting small white spots inside your mouth. That's gross. After another day or two, you get a red blotchy rash that starts on your face and spreads through the rest of your body for about 6 days. Then you start getting massive diarrhea, nausea, vomiting. You get dehydrated as hell. That's a usual comorbidity with diarrhea. You can get pneumonia, and of course you get ear infections, which is great. Measles can cause inflammation of the brain. That's completely nutty. Measles can cause blindness. Why would you want the measles? All you have to do to stop this shit is just take a vaccine. Weird. That's so weird. All you'd have to do is take this tiny little shot that is part of a standard schedule of vaccines early in childhood in order to prevent this shit from happening. Oh, and by the way, there's also rare long-term complications that can develop years after the measles as a comorbidity of having had the measles before. Why? Why is that something you would want? How is that something that you would want at all? So, a measles vaccine gives you a 97% chance that you will not get the measles. And in the event that you do get the measles, all of your illness is infinitely milder than it would have been otherwise. And when you have illnesses that are transferable, like the measles, when you have milder versions of them, they are also less contagious, because things like the cough and the runny nose that would normally cause you to spit your germs every fucking which way and everywhere, infecting other people, those things happen less. So, I ask once again, why would you want that? Why is that a thing you actively want? Because when you don't get a measles vaccine, as a kid, when you, as a parent, choose not to give your kid one, you are actively saying, I want my kid to have the measles. I want that to be something that they have to deal with. It's cause to be considered a failure as a parent, personally. The Tribune examined kindergarten measles vaccination compliance because it's the earliest state document school vaccination rates, and measles can be especially deadly for young children. Yeah, all those complications I just listed. Yeah, when your immune system's young, of course that shit gets complicated. The state's 2 measles deaths this year were girls aged 6 and 8. Under the Texas vaccine requirements, most kindergartners must show that they are fully vaccinated against measles or file an exemption to enroll in school. Most who are not fully vaccinated have an exemption. During the pandemic, the statewide measles vaccine delinquency rate, a term the Texas Department of Health Services uses to track students who are not compliant with those requirements, more than doubled. The Tribune estimated that the number of vaccine delinquent kindergartners in each district by comparing delinquency rates and enrollment totals. In school districts with the most delinquent kindergartners in the 2024-25 school year, the latest data from the state says that as much as 44% of their kindergartners were delinquent in the measles vaccine. So almost half of those kids are listening to RFK, are listening to Donald Trump, or by extension, their parents are listening to those two chuckle fucks, and they're using that to determine whether or not they should go get life-saving medicine. Oh, by the way, it's not just this one. There are 5 other vaccinations that are required for kindergartners to get, and all of those other vaccinations followed similar increases in delinquency rates for the same period. Why? Why is that happening? Well, the pandemic is the driving force behind the increase in vaccine delinquency. School districts officials say that, well, yeah, just everybody had the COVID happen, and then suddenly people were skeptical about vaccines working because we politicized medicine. Why? Why do we as a species do that? Why did we politicize medicine? Of all freaking things. Many children are entering schools after falling behind on their immunizations during the pandemic, making it an untenable task for resource-strapped school districts to chase after parents to vaccinate their children or submit an exemption. Meanwhile, access to vaccines, especially free and low-cost doses, have also dwindled over the last several years amid funding cuts and the politicization of vaccines. State laws and rules don't dictate who has to enforce vaccine compliance, although the Texas Department of State Health Services administers the law, and school districts have traditionally been amongst the first line of enforcement. While school districts acknowledge they are enrolling students not compliant with state vaccine requirements, district officials say they're caught in a no-win situation. Pushing vaccines too hard could lead to retaliation from groups and politicians who are opposed to vaccine mandates. Why are we opposed to vaccine mandates? Why is that considered a bad thing? Why is it bad to not have an infectious disease ravage your fucking body? I'm so free, look at me. Oh God, there goes my guts. No, fucking why? Why do we do that? We encourage school nurses to advocate strongly to promote and protect public health at their campus. But ultimately, it's up to the superintendent and the principal to decide how strictly they are going to try to enforce these things. My God. Statewide, the percentage of kindergartners who were delinquent in getting their measles, it's just more numbers. The numbers are bad. The numbers are bad. You've got that information already. So, the next section is called Schools, a First Line of Defense Against Infectious Disease. By the time most children enter kindergarten, they received 2 MMR vaccine doses, which provide lifelong protection against the measles, as well as a mumps and rubella one for most people. The MMR vaccine for kindergartners is considered one of the most important immunization targets by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. State health officials audit school vaccination records each year for accuracy by sampling school district records. This explains Chris Van Duzen, the spokesperson for the Texas Department of State Health Services. But there's nothing in state rules that requires the DSHS to enforce the vaccination requirement. As a result, the de facto enforcement has traditionally fallen to the school districts. Some of the state's highest kindergarten measles delinquency rates were in larger school districts and charter networks, which have pretty fucking horrible numbers. Delinquency rate of 44%, 30%, and 23%? My God. Some district officials, including Dallas, say that they try to follow state requirements by sending home students who have not completed vaccination requirements or an exemption, but they enroll those students, contributing to the district's vaccine delinquency rates. The Austin School District will also enroll students who don't meet vaccine requirements, but they wait to send those students home until their parents have been notified of their vaccine delinquency 3 times. They can return once they have proof of vaccination or the exemption form. And then, they'll just get angrier and angrier because you keep telling them to give their kids shots and they're going to be mad. So moving on to the next section, though, access to vaccines has apparently dwindled as well. The pandemic disrupted preventative health care, becoming most apparent in some of the most recent kindergarten classes, filled with students born around the first COVID-19 outbreak. The COVID-19 pandemic not only interrupted home and school life, it upended regular health checkups that younger children typically receive before they start the school year, and the impact of that continues to be felt today. Families going to the doctors got off track for everyone during the pandemic. For low-income and immigrant families who already found healthcare access a challenge, more are struggling to find what Bejarano calls their medical home, a regular primary care doctor who can either vaccinate their children or answer concerns and perhaps direct them to the state's exemption processes if they feel strongly enough to opt out. COVID didn't do vaccination or education and many other things as a whole any favor. Yeah, that's true. We saw that all of this shit got heavily politicized during COVID. My God. And then, of course, we have another point on vaccine hesitancy changing their school messaging. After the pandemic, many parents watched as debates raged over the safety of the quickly developed COVID-19 vaccine. As a result, they are asking more questions about all childhood vaccinations. I mean, I understand asking questions. It's okay to ask questions. It is quite literally one of the main things we do when, people do science. They ask questions, they formulate a hypothesis, they do all kinds of stuff. The problem is, if you ask a question and you don't know where to go with that question, you're not doing science, you're just being weird. You are just being fucking weird. Here, let me show you. So the amount of people that say that, oh, am I not allowed to ask questions? That's me doing science. I'm doing science like all the other scientists. No, the fuck you're not. Here's your actual steps. Here are your steps for the scientific method. You ask your question. All right, step 1. Then you do background research. Have any of those parents done background research? Or did you just ask the question and ask the question and ask the question and ask the question and just ask questions and you're just asking questions and asking questions and just asking questions? Scientific method is not just asking fucking questions. After doing background research, you're supposed to construct a hypothesis. Then, after you do that, you're supposed to test that with an experiment. So, your hypothesis: I think vaccines are actually harmful. Okay, cool. That's an opinion. It can also be a hypothesis. I hypothesize vaccines are harmful. Well, how would you test that? Figure it the fuck out, parents. Otherwise, you're not doing science, you're just jacking off. Then, if your procedure worked, if you did your test with your experiment, then you should be able to analyze that data and draw conclusions. Did your child develop problems after the vaccine? Did a statistically significant amount of people develop problems after vaccine? No. Then I guess the vaccines don't cause any actual harm, which is why you should get to communicate those results. But for some reason, dumbasses think it's just asking a question. It's insane to me. Oh my God. Man, you know what you guys should do? Go play video games with your friends. This shit is infuriating. Go find a family of like-minded nerds who want to talk about shit that you find fun. Do that. Find joy in something. Get away from all of this nonsense. Even if it means not watching my channel anymore, I can deal with you not watching my channel anymore. I can do that so long as you are doing something that actually makes you happy. That's what I care about more than anything else. I need numbers to survive, but I don't need those numbers to come at the cost of somebody else's mental health. So please, When you read this doom and gloom, when you find out about these rates changing and Florida and Texas going through their new fun and fresh and shiny epidemics because every single person in those states have a singular shared brain cell that can be argued to be the size of a troglodyte's, go play video games. You're getting angry at a whole lot of stuff that you can't do anything about right now, and it's okay to recognize that's outside of your control. This is not something we can fix by calling our politicians. This is something that we quite literally will have to let pass if you are not in a position to educate people around you. And I mean educate, not harass them, not fight them on the internet, not feel like you're in a position of righteous authority. No, like actually sitting down and using the Socratic method to get somebody to question their own beliefs, which is one of the few ways you can get to crack that shell where somebody can actually be educated about this stuff. Otherwise, you should probably be taking care of yourself. In fact, I'm not even going to say probably. You definitely should just be taking better care of yourself. Go to the gym. Go make some food. You know what I did when I woke up this morning? I had a podcast with Shivam for Magic the Gathering stuff. After that, I went to the gym. And after the gym, I came on here to play World of Warcraft in front of all of you. My day's going pretty fantastic. You should have a fantastic day as well. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Limor Pinku, Love Bunny Games, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Aurora, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it. Just a little bit.